Our fearless leader, Joe Biden, made a daring and selfless, unannounced surprise trip last week to war-stricken Kyiv to meet with the Times Man of the Year, President Zelenskyy. In a strong commitment, U.S. President Biden is seen walking alongside Zelenskyy, and he shows no fear when sirens of a pending attack ring. Look at that fucking hero right there. Can you hear those sirens? No, everybody's pretty calm. What a hero. What are the chances that Russia decides to strike Kyiv, the capital of Ukraine, right when President Joe Biden is being filmed walking through the streets? No, it was almost like it was planned.
I've been here for the past 5 days. I have not heard any explosions. I have not heard any air sirens until about half an hour ago, right when President Biden was in the center of Kyiv, as Clarissa was just mentioning.
What a hero, huh? There's no way, right? The president would stoop so low as to set up a scene in which he and Zelenskyy could walk stoically into potential threats. How was President Joe Biden able to pull off his surprise visit to Ukraine? AP's chief White House correspondent Zeke Miller said part of it came down to notifying Russia in order to prevent setting off a potential nuclear war. So the sirens that began to sound were not to warn of impending threats, but to boost the image of the two presidents. It was a deliberate propaganda move. A new low. I can't believe people really thought the United States would let Biden, our commander-in-chief, make a surprise visit to Ukraine, a place that could possibly be nuked at any moment. Half of America is ready to put in their veins whatever the propaganda machine has to make them feel better about their vote. They will accept anything that makes them feel safe from pain, truth, and choice. They will willingly ignore lies and contradictions to stay safe and ignorant within their bubble. And the propaganda machine was running at full steam that day. Cloak and dagger moves allow Biden to sneak into Ukraine's war zone. As President Biden stepped out of a Golden Dome church during his unannounced high-stakes trip to Kyiv, a city under regular bombardment from Russian forces, an air raid siren abruptly went off, signaling that a Russian military jet armed with missiles had taken off from its home territory. The plane ultimately did not pose a threat to Biden's location. U.S. officials had tried to reduce the risk by taking the extraordinary step of informing Moscow of Biden's planned visit ahead of time. But the shrill alarm was a reminder of the peril of an American president visiting a war-besieged capital in a region where military groups and mercenaries are not known for following the rules. I like it. At least the Washington Post admitted that it was a planned trip. No, even though it was hidden within a misleading headline and kind of misleading first paragraph there, huh? Because I guarantee you right now, no one made it to the second paragraph, and by the time that they did make it to the second paragraph, they didn't care. No, and at least the Washington Post didn't outright lie to the American people in the way MSNBC and CNN did.
Chris, I think it's historic. It's like when JFK went to Berlin in 1963,
No,
when Ronald Reagan went to West Berlin in 1987 and said, Mr. Gorbachev, tear down this wall. It sent a powerful message to Moscow that we are there to stay. A powerful message to our European NATO allies that we're there, that an American president went into a war zone without American troops on the ground. I think it's powerful, and I think we do have to stay the course. It's not just symbolism, it's actions. And when he's going to Poland, he's supporting a NATO ally that hosts more Ukrainian refugees than any other country, several million. And the Poles have been incredibly generous, and I think the American people need to be generous back.
So, Mike, I was reading an article written before this visit happened, and basically it said that a lot of aides were worried. They did not want the president to go to...
Put it in my arm! Put it in my arm! Let's see what CNN has for us.
As our resident historian here, place this in the context, in the pantheon of presidential visits to war zones. Presidents have visited Iraq and Afghanistan in recent years, but those were U.S. wars. This is a Ukrainian war. No U.S. military presence on the ground. How significant?
It's extremely significant. The United States is
How about telling the American people that it was announced to Russia that he was going to be there, and then continue to say this?
Had to sneak off in the dead of night, even had a body.
They're comparing him to FDR. Look, there you go.
Winston Churchill off the coast of Newfoundland, and then of course you had all those World War II meetings between Churchill. It's worth, mentioning Churchill because Zelenskyy has been called the Churchill of our generation, and Biden going there today, I think it's going to be a moment for the history
nowhere
books.
near
It's like
Churchill.
when John F. Kennedy went to Berlin in 1961 and gave a speech at the height of the Cold War. Ukraine is the new Berlin. It's the rally point for NATO and the Western allies, and I think Biden did something really heroic.
God damn it. Give me more. Come on, put it in my arm. Give me more. Jesus. This was a planned PR stunt, and they're touting it as one of the most brave things done in history. They have the audacity, and I don't like FDR, but they have the audacity to compare Biden to FDR and compare fucking Zelenskyy to Churchill. Get the fuck out of here. This was a staged event. It was done to, give this announcement that Biden made that day more gravitas. Biden announces $500 million in new military aid to Ukraine during surprise visits. That's why Biden went to Ukraine. Now, and I'm willing to put money down that the White House PR team was like, well, no, people are probably going to get really upset that the president is going to visit Ukraine to announce that they are receiving another $500 million aid package while there's a disaster currently happening in Ohio. Yeah. How do we spin this? Jesus. I guarantee you that's what they were talking about. How do we spin this? Oh, what we'll do is we'll send them and as a cloak and dagger kind of thing and make him look like a fucking hero. It's exactly what happened. Biden is willing to give $500 million to Ukraine and grace them with his presence. But no, when it comes to American citizens, sorry, can't do that. Biden is too busy poking the bear that is Russia.
1 year into this war, Putin no longer doubts the strength of our coalition, but he still doubts our conviction. He doubts our staying power. He doubts our continued support for Ukraine. He doubts whether NATO can remain unified. But there should be no doubt. Our support for Ukraine will not waver. NATO will not be divided, and we will not tire. President Putin's craven lust for land and power will fail, and the Ukrainian people's love for their country will prevail. Democracies of the world will stand guard over freedom today, tomorrow, and forever. So that's what's at stake here. Freedom. That's the message I carried to Kyiv yesterday, directly to the people of Ukraine. When President Zelenskyy said he came to the United States in December, quote, he said, this struggle will define the world and what our children and grandchildren, how they live, and then their children and grandchildren. He wasn't only speaking about the children and grandchildren of Ukraine. He was speaking about all of our children and grandchildren, yours and mine. We're seeing again today what the people of Poland and the people across Europe saw for decades. Appetites of the autocrat cannot be appeased. They must be opposed. Autocrats only understand one word: no, no, no.
Yeah, God damn it. Oh, they all said it was going to be President Trump who got us into a war. You know, I'll say this. The Russian media took that speech as an act of war. But the Russian media is not Putin. So how did Putin react to Biden's visit to Ukraine? Putin suspends nuclear arms treaty between Russia and U.S. Russian President Vladimir Putin said Moscow would step back from the last remaining major nuclear arms control treaty between the U.S. and Russia and vowed to continue the military campaign in Ukraine as the diplomatic gulf widened between Moscow and the West. Mr. Putin's move, announced Tuesday during a wide-ranging State of a Nation address in Moscow, came hours before President Biden again sought to rally international support for Ukraine and Poland ahead of the first-year anniversary of the invasion, a day after traveling to Kyiv to meet with Ukrainian President Vladimir Zelenskyy. Appetites of the autocrat can't be appeased, the most be opposed, Mr. Biden said before hundreds of flags-waving poles and an array of diplomats gathered at the Royal Castle complex in Warsaw. Ukraine will never be a victory for Russia. Never. Besides pausing its involvement in the New START treaty, Mr. Putin said Russia would also stand ready to test new nuclear weapons if the U.S. moved to do so first, bringing into question the survival of a long-running global ban on nuclear weapons tests. Secretary of State Antony Blinken said that the Russian leader's decision on the pact is both really unfortunate and very irresponsible. While Jens Stoltenberg, Secretary General of the North Atlantic Treaty Organization, warned that the entire arms control architecture between the two countries had been dismantled. I strongly encourage Russia to reconsider its decision and to respect existing agreements. Okay. How about you respect the agreement, the United States respect the agreement that we made with Russia when it came down to the spreading of NATO? How about that one? I think we should, maybe respect that one. Right? No, I'm not a Putin apologist here, but I'm also a man who believes in the word as your word is bond. We gave our word, we should respect our word. Just like when we went into this war, when we were supporting Ukraine in this war in the beginning, I was really, all about keeping our word that we would help Ukraine in their defense. But when it comes down to basically creating a proxy war here with Russia, I'm like, fuck no. And then you start learning all this other shit about Ukraine with the Nazism and stuff like that. I'm like, no. I'm done. I'm done. We don't need to be there. We don't need to be providing as much help as we did. We don't need to be sending as much money as we did, especially when we need that money here. Especially when we need that money here. We don't need to be going in debt. None of this is good. So, always remember, when shit hits the fan, nuclear annihilation happened because of this. Why are they hailing a cab right now? What's going on here? They all need cabs? They're in the stadium. Why do they need cabs? Bunch of Nazis, man. Those Ukrainians. A bunch of fucking Nazis. Or they just really need cabs all the time. I don't know. And that ends the big lead.
The sharing of biased and
False news has become all too common on social media.
More alarming, some media simply aren't true without checking facts first. Unfortunately, some members of the media use those platforms to push their own personal bias and agenda to control exactly what people think. And this is extremely dangerous to our democracy.
This is extremely dangerous to our democracy.